Hello and welcome to episode 53 of the Craving Crypto podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the altcoin markets and doing some analysis on them, discussing whether the market cycle is completed and reviewing Bitcoin towards the end. So let's get right into this. What is up, everybody? Today is going to be a classic overview of the markets, specifically starting with altcoins, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about silver, commodities, some of the things that's going on in the stock market right now, a few more comparisons to some of the stocks that retraced as hard as like what altcoins are doing right now in the internet bubble in the stock market, and comparisons with Bitcoin to the current cycle that the Nasdaq is doing. So it's going to be a full overview of the big picture kind of cycle of crypto and my thoughts of everything that's going on here. So I want to start off with the altcoin market cap very first. As you can see, I've drawn a line. This middle line right here is the mean. This is a 16-degree trend line. And this goes along very, very similar to the way that a market cycle will play out, where you have this lower trend line that it gets accumulated on. Then there's that takeoff period, then it has that bear trap right here. That's that same bear trap right here where it tests that trend line. And it goes really parabolic, and then it goes really parabolic. And then it comes back down to support, bounces, comes back down to support, bounces, and then sees further downside. So that's what we're seeing right here. And when it gets significantly below the mean, this line right here, coinciding with this line right here, then you're in the despair or the depression phase of a market cycle. And you guys, this has just been getting further and further down into that area of that cycle. And we're just getting closer and closer to that medium that all of the hype was generated from. And that 88% Fibonacci retracement is going to be very significant. And we do have that volume picking back up after we saw that declination in volume since the beginning of the year. So we do have a lot of things pointing out that the altcoin market cap could be seeing some higher highs and a bounce off of these 88% retracements. And overall, I'm watching a couple altcoins, main ones really, to play during this little cycle. And of course, I've got all the coins that I'm going to be posting for the VIP members, all the trade setups in there. But these are just a couple of the big ones that I wanted to point out today for you guys. That we can be watching in the cycle that we expect to come. Every coin that I point out here are just some of the big names, and they've all retraced right back in between the 4 and the 1 wave. Well, really in between the 3 and the 1 wave, but this seems to be a strong chunk of support that we see markets turn around in the past. We see silver coming right back to the .786, finding support. And this is right between the 3 and the 1 wave as well. We had the Nasdaq in the 1990-2003 cycle go all the way up, find an ABC correction in between the 3 and the 1 wave. That's where it found support to make a new all-time high. We have Amazon making a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC, finding support between the 3 and the 1 wave. Actually, almost to the 2 wave with this one. We're tracing 95% of its value from its peak here in its first cycle before going for new all-time highs. And then Apple did a very similar retracement. This would have been an 88% retracement for Apple back down to between the 3 and the 4 before it went for new all-time highs. So you guys, this is very common for markets to do this. They like to go up to these major resistance levels and then make an ABC correction right back down to the 3 and the 1 wave inside of the previous cycle and find support in the area. So that's what I'm watching with Ethereum. Another one that's seeing a lot of strength is going to be Litecoin as we come back down onto these major support levels that we have not tested since the cycle really started. Again, these are the takeoff periods where the market is getting liquidity, enough juice to go up as high as it did. So if it's back to the spot that gave it the juice, that gave it, you know, where we're at today with crypto and took us all the way up to the 20K Bitcoin and the $365 Litecoin, we're right back at those major support levels. We're going to definitely be watching for a bounce up to the next fib level, probably the 786. So that's another, 100% bounce in the total market cap for altcoins. And if we get above this major resistance level of this falling wedge pattern that formed right here, which is, you can technically count this both as an ABC or an A, B, C, D, E. The subwaves meet very similar, and they both meet Elliott wave theory rules perfectly fine. So it really doesn't matter which one you count this as. Either way, if we can get above this level right here, this is that resistance point of that falling wedge, and that resistance level is that $101 billion level. Once we get back above that point, I would really see a lot of momentum coming back into the market. A good fib level to watch would be that 618 level at around 200 in total market cap for the altcoins in general. Now, another thing that I've been watching is, this is a 3D printing stock, and you guys can see this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave ABC. This looks exactly like all those internet bubble stocks. Remember? Look at Amazon, that ABC right here. Or how about Apple, that jaggedy ABC? Those are so common as to internet stocks. And look at that. 3D printing stocks are starting to find these 88% retracements, pick up significantly in volume right here. As you can see, a lot of volume coming in. So there's opportunity across the board in all of these markets. Something that I'm watching for the stock market is some type of a short-term bounce, especially as we get closer to the Christmas season. We bounce and then get another rejection, a bull trap. So maybe something like this, so that people could call this like a left shoulder and a head, some type of a right shoulder structure here for the NASDAQ. I am currently bearish on the short term for the NASDAQ until we can really fix this structure up. But right now, this just reminds me a lot of a reversal pattern that I'm used to seeing, very similar to Stellar, Lumens, and Ripple at the top of the market, where you just get these huge railroad rejection candlesticks. It's very different from these rejection candlesticks, where the body of the candle closes with a huge wick, and that means that price action got eaten up quickly. That's not what we're seeing right here at all. We're just seeing huge red railroad candles, essentially rejections off of these levels, that 8,000 NASDAQ level. So I'm not really bullish in the medium terms, and in the short term, we could definitely go a little lower, but I would not be at all surprised if around the Christmas season, January, we see a bit of a bounce before pushing lower with the stock market. So that bounce would provide us some money coming back into stocks that would allow a lot of these really undervalued 3D printing stocks, or maybe cryptocurrency money to come in, and silver commodities are at a really good spot right now to be picking up. So as that stock market money leaves, it's got to go into other assets. Some places I'm watching is going to be silver, crypto. Like I said, this is an interesting 3D printing stock. Now, I will say that cannabis stocks are being significantly affected by the stock market as a whole. So I'm watching this major trend line for OGRMF, which is one of the stocks that we've been watching on the High Altitude channel here. So if this trend line fails, we'll have to reevaluate our analysis. But for now, I'm expecting to see, along with the stock market, a bounce off that trend line. So if you're in this currently, you can reduce your position on a bull trap or downsize your position with this stock specifically until we get a clearer picture on the trend and where it's going. But overall, the markets are looking really good, you guys. We can head over to coinmarketcap.com and get ourselves our top mover for the day, do analysis on it really fast. But commodities are looking strong. They've retraced a lot. A lot of undervalued new technologies are starting to pick up in volume, and a lot of people are getting interested in buying them at these really cheap prices. And then we have like the stock market seeing a lot of potential for an ABC correction, because this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. We're going to do the top mover in just a second, you guys, I promise. Just showing you this little thing here. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. And this right here is actually 1. And this right here is actually a 2. So this is going to be your 3. And your 4. Before we get a 5th wave higher in the stock market as a whole. So on the short term, there's definitely a lot of potential for downside according to Elliott waves. Here with the stock market, we do have a bearish MACD cross and a bearish histogram flip with the NASDAQ here. So I'm not really necessarily seeing this as bullish on the medium term here. And like I said, on the short term, we could easily see that bull trap right here, make that right shoulder structure. But I'm seeing a retest of this 4 kind of support level, maybe even as low as this right here, before we push up, make more Elliott wave structure for that 5th wave, which means that this would be a little subwave count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would be an ABC, and this is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is just showing you how it just keeps mapping itself out and keeps expanding. Let me just pull this down. A, B, C, A, B, C. So that right there is the Elliott wave structure for the stock market that I'm seeing in this period of time where we see corrective processing in the stock market and people panicking and taking out of their tech stocks because Amazon and Apple, all of these tech stocks are starting to get overvalued on the short term. While they're panicking, they're going to put their money into all sorts of places. And crypto, in my opinion, is definitely going to be a spot that investors are looking to put their capital. I know for a fact silver is another spot because that is common, especially in times of stock market panic, for people to start flooding into silver. But that's my perspective with that. Now let's go find the top mover for the day. We have Binance Coin up 12%. Waves is up 44%. Let's just pull down. A lot of stuff is showing momentum right now. Free Coin is up a good 92%. So we're going to go ahead and do technical analysis on Free Coin. Just going to clone this right here. You guys, I will put the link to this chart in the description of my video so you guys can look at it closer, share it with your friends if they want to see my current updated analysis on the altcoin markets. I have a feeling this one is not going to give us very much chart data, so we're going to have to work with what we've got here. This is definitely this has got to only be on like 1 or 2 exchanges. It's definitely new. Yeah, it's only been here since 10 of 5/18. And overall, if we click on volume and check out what's going on with that, we see very small volume. If we check out on exchanges that this can be traded at, we only see a couple of oddball exchanges with very low volume. So this is one, you guys, that I personally wouldn't really touch much right now unless you just have a very small amount or you're a fundamental analyst and you know what this coin is about, or you know the people that are making it and that they're doing really good things. Then yeah, you should definitely look at it because of that. But right now, this is just not the chart pattern data. There's not enough data, there's not enough exchanges, and there's not enough volume for me to be interested in Free Coin. Now, because of that, I want to go over one that is a little bit more tradable for everybody. So let's check out Waves. Waves under the dollar here is going to be a great example of one that's more tradable for the whole crew, all those HAI members. As you can see, this one has fell back onto this chunk of support right here where the market has seen a nice little rejection around the $1.56 level. Now if I just take this and I remove my drawing tools here, you can see that that also was support. So let's just go ahead, and with Waves, you have to imagine that this was added to an exchange, and when it got added, it pumped. So just pretend that there was price action before this point. The reason for that is because the cycle, this is a one wave in the first cycle, kind of like how what we saw with Amazon over here, how there's this little one wave and then it brought this big cycle that got really high and went parabolic right there. If we go over here, you can see this is that one wave, and that's that big parabolic move that came afterwards. So let's take this, and I'm going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th wave action here for Waves. And this looks pretty typical of an A, B, C correction. Seems to have all the subwaves of an ABC correction. So that's Waves right here on the bigger picture. We can go into the 3-day and see that that volume is very attractive for any traders. That is a big volume spike in comparison to what we've seen for the full year. The bigger volume spike that we saw previously was some people, probably institutional money, unloading a little bit of the money that they bought at the 618 and the 50% onto this bull trap level, was that big green spike right here. And then we saw that huge wave back down, and now we've got that secondary green spike, which is a good sign for waves as we're landing in between the 3 and the 1 out of our big picture Elliott wave count for this coin. So yeah, I really do think this is one everybody should be watching, especially if you go into the smaller time frames. Watch for some type of rejection. See if you can pick some up near the lower support levels. Really $1 and $1.60 is prime entries for this coin specifically. That's pretty much everything I wanted to go over with these coins and the stocks right now. I like to give you guys a full picture update of both crypto and stocks and commodities, so you really know where the money is flowing in the world and where institutional money is funneling out and where they're funneling back in. This is the way I see it right now. Crypto and a lot of really innovative technologies are getting highly undervalued as they retrace back down to these major 80, 76, 88%, 95% retracement levels. And then we have commodities and wheat, and then we have gold and silver retracing significantly from their peaks, and the stock market getting overvalued, which is generally a time when people start to go into gold, silver, and some other places like that, like oil. So there's a lot of movement kind of shifting back and forth between smart money and then, you know, some of the more beginners in the market. And that's what I see right now is happening, is a lot of panic selling in crypto, panic selling in some of these 3D printing stocks. Then we have just FOMO in the stock market, people thinking the trend's going to continue and to return. And then we just have pure 786 in silver, 50% retrace on gold, 786 on oil, 88% plus on Litecoin. And, you know, so this is the way that I see the money moving back and forth between these markets currently. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to drop them in that box below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next videos. As always, stay profitable out there.